Would I be the jerk if I didn't remind my spouse about my birthday? Hello long-time lurker, posting on mobile, apologies if formatting is weird. My husband, 34, and I, 33, have been together 9 years, married for 6. My birthday is coming up this week and I'm pretty sure he's going to forget. He's not a birthday person and he's not big on getting or giving gifts, and he spaced on a lot of birthdays and anniversaries at the beginning of our relationship. But we worked through it and agreed to meet in the middle with him trying harder and me being more chill, and that's been mostly working. But well, he hasn't asked me about anything, not even if I'm working that night or if there's a restaurant I'd want to go to or anything. And I basically schedule and plan everything we do. I'm so tired of planning thoughtful things for him to do for me so that I have something to say when people ask me what he got me. I don't want to look up restaurants, check menus. Last year during my birthday dinner, he complained that there were only a couple things on the menu he could eat, even though I told him where I wanted to go a week ahead of time and specifically asked him to look at the menu and check schedules and just have him show up and pay. I want to feel like I'm worth literally any amount of effort or thought, that I'm a priority for him, that he knows me and cares about me. I've been feeling like this for the last year and we've been fighting about it, and I've asked him to take more initiative and act more like my partner, but it hasn't been happening. I know his mom has asked him about what to get me for my birthday, so he's got to know it's coming up. I also maintain a digital household calendar with upcoming birthdays and events that I've shared with him multiple times, but I don't think he's ever clicked the link. Which is all to say I'm not trying to trick him or set him up for failure. I just would genuinely rather not celebrate my birthday at all than plan everything by myself. I also don't know if I remind him if he would even do anything, and I think that's the worst part. If I don't say anything and he doesn't do anything, then he just forgot. If I say something and he still doesn't do anything, it would hurt more. But at the same time, I feel like it's a dick move for me to know that I want something from him and will be disappointed if he doesn't do it, and to not tell him. I'm really not trying to do some kind of gotcha thing, but it feels dishonest, especially with how much I've been thinking about it. Not the antagonist. After 9 years, your husband should know when your birthday is and do something for it without being asked every single year. Make some unofficial backup plans for yourself, like going to a museum or a movie in case he doesn't do anything. It sounds like you might need to have a big conversation about the state of your marriage and consider marriage counseling if necessary to address feeling unappreciated. My partner started working at a refugee center and would like us to offer temporary accommodation to immigrants. My partner and I are living in a larger city in Europe. In the beginning of this year, my partner lost their job due to the economic crisis that impacted the industry they have been working in pretty hard. They have been staying at home, and besides looking for new opportunities, they decided to occupy themselves with volunteering. They started helping out at an immigration center, which gave them a sense of purpose. We both have a supportive attitude towards the immigrants and would like to help in any way we can. They are mostly helping with paperwork, introductions, and education. They also got involved in a program which is aimed at helping immigrants to find temporary accommodation with families. They brought up this topic recently, that as our children already moved out and we have an empty room in our apartment, they think we could be part of the program and offer temporary accommodation too. The immigrants are from various countries. Many came from Ukraine recently, but they have been working with helping people from the Middle East and Africa. Most are single individuals who need extra help due to cultural differences. We had a long discussion about this and I have some concerns. On one hand, I think the cultural difference could put extra stress on our daily lives, and I'm not sure I would feel comfortable with inviting someone to our home that we know nothing about. They said they already made some connections there and they would only apply if they know and trust the person. It's not like having open doors to complete strangers. They seem to strongly believe in this program and that providing a safe and welcoming space can significantly impact the lives of the immigrants. They see it as an opportunity to offer these people stability during a challenging transition period, that it can positively affect their mental and emotional well-being and help with integration into our society. They even think it could be beneficial for us, that hosting them allows for cultural exchange and for us to be more open and grow as a couple. It could be good financially too, as we might get financial support from the government as part of the program, and according to them, if the temporary period is over and we all feel like it's been working well, we could extend it for a reasonable rent. I don't really have good arguments against the idea, but even though I agree that helping immigrants and integration is very important, I'm worried how it can impact us, and if this situation can turn into something more than just offering accommodation for help. I haven't agreed to it yet, and I don't know if I should. I'm looking for advice. Has anyone else been in such a situation, or in a situation where you had someone else you don't know well, a tenant, living with you for a longer period of time? How did it affect your life? I don't know the housing laws where you live, but consider the potential issues with someone staying who causes problems and refuses to leave, as it may be difficult to evict them. This seems like a bad idea for many reasons, and I can understand why hosting a person can be challenging, especially with cultural and language barriers. It may be a noble aspiration, but realistically it seldom ends as one would hope. My partner is suddenly interested in me again after 5 years of no intimacy. When our child was born, my spouse suddenly stopped being intimate with me. It was okay at first because my hormones were a mess about 1 to 2 years out from the pregnancy, even if I missed him. But then I noticed that he just wasn't interested in being romantic partners anymore. He was an incredibly involved stay-at-home father, and I know he has issues with his own parents being neglectful, so we never had date nights, and he was always too exhausted to do anything. We literally turned into roommates who parent together instead of romantic partners. He was always happy to see our child. She would light up his face. But I was basically an afterthought, and he was too busy for me. There was no husband and wife time. And sometimes when I came home from work, it was like he wasn't even happy to see me. I tried talking to him about it, but he would brush me off or say that he was tired. And he was tired and did a lot of work. And I feel ungrateful that I'm upset. The situation made me pretty miserable until I looked at the bright side. Most people would kill to have such involved parents. He was an incredible father, and kids need their father. And I wanted the best for my child. She started kindergarten this year. And since she started kindergarten, my spouse has been really moody and more interested in me. The first week she went to kindergarten, he was depressed back in September, but after that it was like a switch flipped. He's kissing me, hugging me, being incredibly attentive. We hadn't been intimate in 5 years, and he wants to sleep together every day. And he's moodier if I don't pay attention to him. He doesn't act on it, but I can see that he's trying hard not to be annoyed. I don't get him, and I wonder if it's a mental health issue. And yes, I do chores when I come home, pay for a cleaner that comes in, and I'm an active and involved parent too. How should I broach the topic of why have you been moodier and more interested in me? What is going on with his behavior? Too long, didn't read. Spouse was the primary parent of our child and wasn't interested in any kind of intimacy. Now that she's in kindergarten, he pays attention to me again. What gives? He never liked when I initiated. It was a huge turnoff for him. So I would just wait for him to initiate or ask if he was feeling up to anything, and the answer was always no. I would never have turned him down even in the first year when my hormones were a mess. I like the intimacy of sleeping together. By year 2 and 3, I was tired and desperate and just kept initiating, and he would reject me constantly. And then by year 4 and 5, I gave up and ignored my own libido. It sounds like the male version of postpartum, with him maybe experiencing empty nest syndrome and wanting to continue being a stay-at-home dad. The new intimacy interest could be a result of him wanting to have another baby with you. The 0-5 stage is exhausting, so he may have been tired and is now looking for you to take some of the load off and create space for intimacy as your daughter gets older. Communication and therapy could help foster a wonderful reconnection between you two. My parent is depressed and wants to stop drinking. How can I help them understand they're hurting themselves and get them to tackle their depression in a constructive way? First of all, I want to say that I have no issue with my father consuming alcohol. The issue I have is the fact that he only consumes alcohol when he is in his car, which has directly put me and other family members and even friends, including children, in danger. I also want to mention that he is not an alcoholic. He can go without alcohol. And I know other people with alcohol use disorder, and he just simply is not one. But when he has a bad or stressful day, he drinks. For some other context, I grew up extremely conservative Christian, and when I was younger, my parents always told me drinking was against God, and to never do it even when I became old enough. My parents were raised even more conservative than I was, to the point that they weren't allowed to dance or go to a movie theater, and have always held this belief to be true. At least I thought. When I was 15 or 16, I accidentally overheard an argument between my parents and found out that my dad had been drinking and hiding it from my mom. I had noticed before this that there would be days he was off, being extra obnoxious, extra emotional, having a tough time putting a sentence together, falling asleep in his car, in the garage when he got home, etc. But I honestly thought that he was doing drugs, so a small part of me was relieved to find out he was just drinking. I felt too embarrassed to ask my mom about it, so I didn't until I was around 19. One of my siblings came to me, and she started asking questions and speculating that my dad was drinking. Having pretty much left the church at this point, I didn't really care, but I was mad that he was hurting my mom. At this point, I did not know he was driving under the influence or only drinking in his vehicle. I had suspicions but didn't know for sure. But my sibling was furious and wanted to talk to my mom. So I finally worked up the courage to ask her about it. She admitted to me that he had a problem but wouldn't say too much more because he was my father, and she couldn't betray his trust. Fast forward up to COVID hitting and my dad becomes a model parent again. Worked from home and went 2 whole years without a single drink. He was doing amazing. And then he started having to go back, and it started happening again. It was around this time that my sibling first told me that they knew for a fact my dad had driven them, a friend, and 2 underage children home in his vehicle while loaded. Then I really lost it. We brought it up to my mom and she finally told us everything. Since then he's been off and on about it, and we try not to let him drive when he's like that, but he'll just deny it entirely and say he's fine and gets super upset. Besides text conversations where he apologizes for being the way he is, because he knows we all know now. Nobody has ever spoken to him directly about it besides my mom. Recently, we've all decided enough is enough. The incidents are happening closer together, and he's going to get himself fired or worse, end up in jail. both of which screw over our whole family besides me because they rely on him to provide. Besides my sibling previously mentioned. None of us care if he drinks. We just would rather he do it at home. But the issue is apparently he's so ashamed of it that he just does it in his car. My mom said that he told her he knows he shouldn't be doing it at all. Again, this is because they're conservative Christians, so he doesn't want to do it at home. Apparently, this all stems from a long-term depression he's had since we were kids, and there are days he doesn't want to be here. Well, I personally would much rather he drink than end his life, but I just want him to be safe about it if that's what he's going to do anyways. My mom has begged him to just drink at home, but he won't do it out of the sheer embarrassment of being a hypocrite, so it ends up being this vicious cycle. He has a bad day, drinks, gets caught, is ashamed, drinks more, rinse and repeat. I want to talk to him, but I don't know what to say that won't make him feel like a horrible person. He's not. He has been an amazing dad to me, and I just want to help him and keep him safe. I've struggled my whole life with depression, so I understand how that feels. I'm honestly pretty sure it just runs on his side of the family. He has so far not been willing to see a therapist despite my mother begging, and in my opinion, rehab or Alcoholics Anonymous would not benefit him as he isn't really an alcoholic. At least not in the traditional sense where he can't go a single day without it, as the only days he drinks are ones when he has to drive for work so he can keep it hidden. So help me out. How can I get him to replace his drinking with something that would actually benefit him without making him feel more ashamed for his problem? Any advice is appreciated, and I'm happy to answer any questions. TLDR. My dad is depressed and drinks and is slowly self-destructing. How can I get him to help himself without making it worse? Sometimes, all you can do is show love and support, even if it may not be fully received. Remember, actions speak louder than words. Am I the antagonist for making my bridesmaid cry on my wedding day? I got married a few weeks ago and had 5 bridesmaids, 3 of them being close friends. Most of our wedding party stayed at the venue with us, so they were with us the entire morning of the wedding. We hosted breakfast and communicated that everyone needed to be ready for photos by 1 p.m. 11:30 a.m. rolls around and my makeup artist is late and nobody has started steaming ironing their clothes. I start to stress out a bit while my maid of honor and I arrange my room for the getting ready photos. The wife of one of my husband's groomsmen, let's call her Emily, steps in and starts steaming my wedding dress and helping the groomsmen iron their suits. 30 minutes into this, I text my bridesmaid friends asking where they were and if they could possibly help Emily while my maid of honor and I try to track down the makeup artist. One of them came up and started helping out. I get no response from 2 of them for about an hour, and my maid of honor eventually sees them lounging by the pool. Shortly after, one of those bridesmaids, let's call her Sarah, rushes into my room as I finally sit down for hair and makeup to say she's sorry she didn't see my text, and asks what I still needed help with. I just say it's okay, things are being taken care of now and not to worry. She bursts into tears saying I never communicated what I needed help with. I have never gotten married before and had no idea so much needed to be done, and communicated what I needed as soon as I figured that out. She told me I can't expect her to read my mind and ran out of the room crying. Me, my maid of honor, sister-in-law, and mother-in-law who was in the room at the time were shocked. The other bridesmaids simply came into the room, apologized for seeing the text late, and started helping, making sure I'd had food to eat, coffee, etc. Now, I haven't asked Sarah to do anything for my wedding up until that morning. She even skipped out on my bachelorette party for a birthday party, which hurt my feelings a bit, but I communicated that I was just bummed she couldn't make it and moved on. Everyone in the room that day told me to ignore her outburst, but I felt bad that she was so upset and didn't want her to feel that way on my wedding day. I found her after she cooled off a bit and I apologized if I made her feel overwhelmed, and that I would have communicated my expectations earlier if I knew what they were sooner. She said she prides herself on being helpful, and I made her feel like she wasn't. This was the kicker because she disappeared after that and ended up not helping at all. I just said I was happy she was there with me regardless. She was in a bad mood for the rest of the evening, didn't speak to me, and didn't even congratulate my now husband and I, etc. During the event, she left early the next morning and I texted her thanking her for being there with us and that I was grateful for her company, etc. And she just told me to enjoy the rest of my week, and we have not spoken since. Am I the antagonist? Not the antagonist. She never answered your, "Where are you, and can you help Emily?" text, and instead of apologizing she went nuclear crying with, "She can't read your mind." She probably wanted to be caught lounging by the pool. Forget her. It's understandable if someone gets photoshopped out of the wedding photos, just saying. I'm feeling blindsided by my partner asking for an open relationship. Has this happened to anyone here before? My boyfriend, male 31 years old, wants to have an open conversation about our relationship. Is he cheating on me? Has this happened to anyone here before? For context, I have been with my boyfriend, male 31 years old. For 2 years I have recently purchased a house and we moved in together 4 months ago. Everything has been great. He is loving, compassionate, caring, and a great person whom I was 100% content with potentially sharing the rest of my life with, as was he. I love him. My family all love him. My family all love him. And I've been so content and happy recently with our relationship, and taking the next step of living with one another has been really fun and exciting. Also want to note that our sex life is incredible and we've never felt unsatisfied in that area. Other than the occasional argument when we first got together about him feeling jealous about me having a previous sexual history before him. He just came out of a long relationship, says he never got the time to be wild and reckless. We haven't ever really felt, nor discussed, feeling like we're missing out on anything and have even discussed feeling like we're missing out on anything and have even discussed mutually. Oh, we feel so lucky, Dave. I feel totally blindsided and totally heartbroken. In the past, we've had brief conversations about polyamorous couples, and both have always come to the conclusion it wasn't for us and that we didn't like the idea, especially from his side, being adamant he would be too jealous, and fair enough. Until he brought it up again a few days ago with a total 180 flip on his viewpoint, totally out of the blue, actively trying to persuade me that us opening up the relationship will be the best thing to ever happen to us, and that he brought it up as he trusts me and our relationship so much, and that the thought of me being with other men doesn't faze him. He's gone from not liking the idea to asking me continuously over the past 3 days to consider it, saying it will make us want each other even more so than before. Even to the point of joking about it, which I've expressed is starting to upset me and comes across as insensitive. He mentioned not feeling like he has independence in the relationship, and that opening it up will give him a life outside of us, which, deep down, feels just like an excuse as I'm always accommodating and promoting for us as individuals to still make sure we have an independent, autonomous side of our lives. We have always had great communication and this has all come out of the blue, but I can tell he must have been thinking about this for a while as he also said to me, he is 100% ready to open it up. How can you go from adamantly against this to being 100% ready? I've questioned him about potentially already having someone in mind as alarm bells went off, and he says there isn't. I'm really confused and would love any advice on the above. It's such a weird one, and I'm just feeling like the dynamic has shifted, and the thought of my boyfriend really wanting to sleep with other people and still come back to me just doesn't sit right. Your boyfriend's request for permission to cheat is a clear sign he has someone in mind, seeking approval to pursue them while still benefiting from your support. Don't fall for his false promises of equal rights in an open relationship, as most partners who suggest this have ulterior motives. Save yourself from being used and dumped by ending things now before the pain of betrayal becomes inevitable. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.